Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is the NAACP declares Florida is not safe for black people. And wait till we get to the irony of it all. It's insane. Before we jump into any of this, though, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. Your help support will be greatly appreciated. Well, we have the NAACP issuing a travel advisory against Florida over the weekend. Ironically, the chairman of the NAACP board of directors lives in Florida. The dude's living in Florida. He's like, this place isn't safe. You guys get out and don't come. Issuing a travel advisory against Florida. The dude freaking lives there. So on Saturday, the NAACP board of directors claimed the advisory is necessary to combat Florida's aggressive attempts to erase black history and to restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. Well, what's the advisory of all this? Well, it officially states Florida is openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals. Before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. The organization's animosity toward Florida appears to be rooted in part in Governor Ron DeSantis' rejection of the AP African American Studies, which we have covered here on the Bald Brad channel. And we also went into detail as to why he was targeting that, because there was mechanisms inside those African American studies that shouldn't have been there in the first place. So they're saying that the course, he said, would not be taught in Florida schools. Again, that's coming from what Ron DeSantis stated. Florida rejected the course because it allegedly violated state law and is not historically accurate. You have a lot of this 1619 Project, Howard Zinn stuff being pushed on a lot of youth out there that's revisionist history and basically interjects not necessarily just fact, but also opinions in there, and they twist and manipulate things. I'm not saying that's exactly what's taking place here, but it's definitely a part of it. But scholars of African American studies believe controversial topics such as reparations, intersectionality, and Black Lives Matter, there you go, among others, are central to a course that prepares high school students to engage in African American studies at the collegiate level, which certainly discusses such topics. I don't think anybody just in general has a problem with African American studies being taught, but it's what's inside those courses that is being taught that generally raises a problem for a lot of people. I.e., if you're talking about critical race theory type of ideology that comes from critical law studies, then you're getting in the realm of potentially indoctrination and leading students in a certain path or a certain way of ideology that just isn't technically true. One of them being that you can't cure racism and that if you're white, you're just inherently racist. That's from critical race theory, by the way. So you have this insane stuff having the possibility of being interjected in there. And if it is going to be interjected in there, then Ron DeSantis is saying, hey, you know what, then we just won't have it at all. So you could either have African American studies and stick to facts rather than your ideology and what you're trying to push upon these kids. I think AP African American studies should be taught, by the way. But if you're going to push woke ideology in there, then I don't think that should be the case. The College Board, which administers AP courses, has since revised its course, leading to criticism from scholars of African American studies themselves. So the irony of this, again, is Leon Russell, chairman of the NAACP board of directors, lives in Tampa, Florida. And Russell is black. Despite the alleged racist trajectory of Florida leaders, Russell has lived in Florida for nearly half a century. He began working as the head of a county office of human rights in 1977, a position he held for 35 years. He retired in 2012. In light of the NAACP advisory, Florida Republican Party chairman Christian Ziegler offered to help Russell move out of Florida. Quote, true leadership is being willing to do what you ask others to do. Time to step up and move, Ziegler tweeted. If you think our state is so bad, the Florida GOP will help with moving costs. You hear this a lot, especially from celebrities. When Donald Trump was going to be elected, they said, if he's elected, I'm moving to Canada. I think Miley Cyrus was actually one of those that said that. They still live here in the United States. So a lot of people just shout things to the skies they don't actually do. They're going to shout that Florida's somehow racist against black people and it's a threat to black people and you're not safe. Folks, it's silly. If you're an African American, a person of color, a minority, doesn't matter what it is, you are going to probably flourish more in Florida than a lot of other states. that is the state to go to. Just even on like tax level, because they don't have state income tax there, you're going to be flourishing way better than you would in California and other areas. But, again, we're going to push this whole narrative out there about race again. It just gets exhausting and tiring. I can't emphasize this enough. The GOP, conservatives, Republicans, we want everybody to flourish. We want the people to be law-abiding citizens, assimilate to our values and our creed of this great country, and just be moral people that make good decisions in life and are extremely successful regardless of race, ethnicity, anything like that. We just want you to do well. We just want you to be happy and do well. So don't believe what this guy's saying. Go to Florida if you want. Be happy there. You can make a lot of money if you make good decisions. Moving into our second story of the day, we have homeless drug addicts invading California high school, leaving behind needles, sleeping on campus, and using restrooms. I want to say like a year ago, we covered a very similar story to where when students were getting off the bus to go to school, there was a homeless encampment right there that they'd have to walk through. And a father recorded it on his phone, and they were shooting up drugs right there. They were sleeping on the pavement. I mean, these little kids had to walk through this every single day. I'm not saying the school district's fine with it, but definitely the community is, in terms of the leadership, because they're allowing it to happen. Well, a group of students from a San Jose high school demanded on Thursday the district officials take action to prevent homeless drug addicts from continuing to invade their campus, an issue students say has been going on for at least a year. This is insane. I mean, folks, to go on campus and kind of even be around children, you have to be fingerprinted, go through background checks with the FBI and the DOJ. And why are they invading the campus? Why are they even anywhere near the campus? Especially when you have people doing drugs. You don't even know these people. You don't know if they have a criminal background and all these things. I'm not trying to belittle homeless people, but with everything going on in the school systems, with people going up and shooting at schools and gang violence and whatever it may be, I am shocked. I'm shocked that this is being allowed to happen, but hey, it is California. So a coalition of 20 students from the San Jose Collegiate, a public charter high school, stood before school officials during a district board meeting last week to demand the administration do more to ensure the safety of students. Safety for students should always be number one priority, by the way. According to the students, homeless individuals have been trespassing on school property, using restrooms, and leaving behind used needles. I should say I'm shocked, but partly I am not that shocked because there was a stint here in California where you literally had officials having to metal detect school playgrounds and park playgrounds for needles and syringes and razor blades on almost a monthly basis, and they were collecting and finding them. It is also California where they want to provide homeless people and drug addicts a safe place to be able to use, where they offer them free needles and things like that. That's the state for you, folks. That's the state for you. According to the students, homeless individuals have been trespassing again on school property. I don't even know how they're getting on school property because most schools have a gate around it and they're locked down. So it just shows that there's points of entry, which again, with all these school shootings, should raise awareness to parents and the community at large that they need to sit there and figure this out really quick. The group of students requested that district officials install a fence around the school. You just walk on. Oh, that's just lovely. Install a fence around the school to prevent the homeless from wandering onto school property. A situation that has become a long-term ongoing problem since a homeless encampment was installed next to the school. We've seen this in other states as well. It's not just California. What's really interesting here is, do you remember that whole argument a couple years ago when Donald Trump was president and everything kind of gets even expanded in terms of proportion of being a problem, and there were school shootings taking place, and people are like, hey, well, why don't you increase security? We'll have cops on campus with firearms, and the left lost their mind because they didn't want it to feel like prison. And one of the components of feeling like prison is that there's a fence around it because prisons have fences and walls, and they don't like fences and walls. If you recall the border, they don't like that one bit because it's racist, it's xenophobe, and all these other things. It's bigot and all these other things. But folks, you need to secure these schools to make sure the kids are safe. This is insane. Alfred Hernandez, a student attending the public charter school, told the outlet, quote, "We see them coming into our bathrooms. We have them sleeping in our athletic sheds." Oh my God. And we also have them breaking fences and doing drugs on the lunch table. Wow. Another student told the administration, while in the bathroom, a homeless woman entered our private restroom. This is like the least secure school in the entire United States. I mean, what is it going to take? You know what I mean? It's a sad thing that a lot of the stuff will be changed when something horrific happens, rather than, hey, you know what? We're having homeless people come on campus. You can have a guy that's deranged or having some sort of psychotic episode or hallucinating off the drugs, whatever it may be, and actually attacking a kid and potentially really hurting them. There's a lawsuit for you. And guess who shells out that? the taxpayer. So there could be a potential for a massive lawsuit happening if something goes wrong here. The San Jose Collegiate released a statement to the outlet noting that the students raised important, valid concerns. Yes, I would think so. It's sad that the students are raising these concerns. You would think the administration and the parents would raise the concerns here. At KIPP, our number one priority is the well-being of our students, and we take safety issues very seriously. Look, you hear the same thing from Joe Biden and a lot of just politicians in general, that they take things very seriously, but they don't take things very seriously. You want to know what they say they take seriously? Is our spending and our national debt and our budget. But we're $32 trillion in debt. You don't take that serious one bit. They say they take the border seriously. You don't take that seriously one bit when you have millions of people pouring across the border. So it's all these things that whenever you see people say they take something very seriously, try to take it as a grain of salt, because most likely they don't. Because if they did, this wouldn't have been an issue in the first place. We are proud of our San Jose Collegiate students for raising important valid concerns through their public advocacy. KIPP staff are committed to working in partnership with the Eastside Union High School District leaders to address the safety of the facilities at the Independence High School campus, where KIPP San Jose Collegiate is co-located. We also know that facilities upgrades alone will not solve the web of complex issues presenting themselves on the school's campus. So talking about the homeless problem without actually saying the homeless problem. A safe campus and community requires comprehensive coordination to ensure the well-being of all our neighbors, including the unhoused, there you go, community in the area. So it shows you kind of where they're at in terms of politics, is because remember, homeless people are now just called unhoused. They're homeless people. So now they're the unhoused. We can call them all these different things we want. Again, I have sympathy and empathy for these people. We need to help them. We can't just keep them on the streets doing all these things, especially in front of our children, because something is going to happen. And if it's happening in California, I guarantee you, and I know for a fact it's happening in other states because we've seen video footage here on the Bald Brad Show and have covered it, of these very things happening in other states. And unfortunately, something bad's going to happen before any changes will be made. Let me know what you think about that one in the comment section below here. We are moving quick in today's episode. We got our last segment of the day. We have New Hampshire legislature voting against requiring schools to tell parents about students' gender transition. This is, to me as a teacher, this is insane because we are mandated reporters. And I think having parents in the loop of what's going on with their son or daughter is very impactful and very important. Whether the son or daughter realizes it at that moment in time, I do think a teacher having parents' backs is number one priority. They're not my kids, they're your kids. If I see something, say something. You know what I mean? I think everybody can agree with that. Well, according to the Democrats and the progressive left here. So Senate Bill 272, known as the Parents' Bill of Rights, failed following a 195-190 vote on May 18th. The policy was indefinitely postponed and cannot be taken up for the remainder of the legislative session. If enacted, the policy would have required schools to establish a consistent mechanism for parents to be notified of information relating to the health, well-being, and educational progress of their minor children while those children are in the custody and control of the public schools. Ultimately, New Hampshire House Democrats attached multiple, quote, poison pill amendments to SB 272 in order to weaken the bill. I've said this time again, you guys, I don't know why Democrats think this is a good issue. They're constantly doing things that is geared towards our children that is negative. I know people don't want to hear that, especially if you're a Democrat, but I don't understand the push here of this push on our children so much. Just leave them alone, and then if they want to make the decision at they're 18 to do something, then hey, they're an adult. Allow them to do that. We don't give cigarettes and all sorts of things to students in the school system. We don't give them porn and all that stuff. That's crazy. Some people want to, and some people are on the left-hand side of the aisle, but allow them to make decisions when they're of age, of 18 and on. They're adults. They can do whatever they want. Everybody's going to leave them alone. The issue here is constantly going after our children. That's the problem here. That's the big problem. And when you're not having parents' backs on things and you're hiding stuff from them, now you've gone way too insane. And by the way, some teachers are mandated to keep quiet, by the way. We covered that on the Bald Brad Show. Even in a prior school that I worked at, we were mandated to keep things quiet. We weren't allowed to tell the parents what was going on. Again, I'm on your side on this, folks. The bill was passed by the state's Republican-led Senate in March. Advocates of the policy said the requirement would strengthen families and parent-child relationships. The state senator, Dan Innes, an openly gay man and a Republican, said in the debate before his chamber's vote that if a student is visibly transitioning at school or is visibly gay, parents should be informed by teachers. Now, the key thing there is visibly, right? But you don't want to discriminate against a student just because maybe they're a man and they dress a little bit more flamboyant, maybe they're emo or dressing sort of goth in a way that might come across as visibly something of which it is not. So you want to be careful with kind of just assuming somebody is going through something when in actuality they are not. So that's why he's using the word visibly, because a lot of these kids sometimes aren't visibly transitioning, or maybe they're going through something, and you have to try to be understanding of that as much as possible. As I've always said, as an educator, I don't care what you are, Democrat, Republican, a leftist, woke, LGBTQ plus, I don't care. I just want you to do well in the education system. And I want to make sure that you're okay, both mentally and also just in the education system of you conducting mathematics and being okay. That's all I care about. That's all I care about. No judgment here on my end. Cool. I think this bill will create a situation where it's less likely that a student will be ousted by his or her peers, and more likely that it will happen in a way that supports that child, he said in March. I could tell you at age 13, I too was very confused, and parental support would have been very helpful. And I get that. My best friend actually in high school was gay at the time, and I knew literally all 4 years. He never came out to me. And then, he started kind of, being a jerk, unfortunately. And then I said, hey, look, man, I get what you're going through. I'm here to support you. I love you to death, regardless of what happens. He didn't like the way that I did that. But again, a lot of people are going to support their friends, regardless of whether they're gay or not. They love you as an individual, regardless of whether you may or may not be going through something. So I think it's important that parents should know what you're seeing in the classroom so that they can help guide their child in the best way. Not us guiding them, the parent, and offering any other services the parent wants. It's the parent's kids and not my kid. I'm just there to support them again in their academics. Quote, parents who ask such questions likely already suspect their children have had problematic issues in this area, so this bill is not an effort to out such students. I mean, it kind of is in a way. Wrote Republican Representative Arlene, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name, in remarks that were published ahead of the vote, per Boston 25. It is rather an effort to empower a partnership between parents and teachers to most effectively help vulnerable children navigate complicated situations that may involve life-altering decisions. I 100% agree with that. We need to get back to parents and teachers having each other's backs to support these youth in the best way possible. And the life-altering decisions, I have a feeling, I'm not 100% sure here, that she's talking about the transitioning, of which a lot of schools are trying to implement here with Planned Parenthood on campus, or helping them transition with puberty blockers and hormone enhancers without the parents' knowledge. There's a lot of pushback from the left saying that isn't happening, but it is happening on school campuses. We've covered it here on the Bald Brad Show. Opponents argued requiring schools to tell parents about their children's decisions regarding their names and gender would violate constitutional privacy rights and increase bigotry. Now, what's interesting here is, where do you draw the line on that? Because we are mandated reporters. If a student's having a mental health crisis, or they write something down on a math problem that is maybe sounds suicidal or sounds threatening, we have to report that. But isn't that constitutional privacy rights? Right? Freedom of speech. They have a right to write whatever they want. So at what point do we report something versus not report something? That's my question. I don't understand why they're saying increased bigotry, because you might not have any ill will towards the child whatsoever. You're just reporting what you're seeing taking place in the classroom, and the parents should be aware of it. That's all, because that's their child. It's not yours, it's theirs. I don't know what's going on with the school system trying to hide so much stuff from people's parents. There's going to be pushback. It ain't going to end well. It is not going to end well. State Senator Donovan Fenton, a Democrat, said the bill would further drive the transphobic and homophobic narrative that has begun to infiltrate our state from national interest groups. Again, there's like this makeshift belief that there's some sort of bigotry, homophobic, transphobic narrative that's going on. If you want to be that, when, hey, I shouldn't say when you want to be, because again, a lot of gay people say that, they've always been this way. But if you want to have, I hate to use the word freedom, but if you want to have that liberty and freedom of transitioning and doing all those things later, then 18, your parents have the right to choose what is best and what isn't best. And if they think that's not best at the time, they think you're going through something or whatever it may be, then hey, make that transition at 18. Again, the whole issue here is strategically targeting our children when they might be confused, or they're actually incapable of making certain decisions because their brain isn't fully developed yet. State Representative Tommy Hoyt told a parent who emailed him requesting that he vote in favor without any amendments to SB 727 to shut up. Do you know why your children's results tanked during COVID? Hoyt wrote in an email obtained by the Marine Wire. Their parents were incompetent teachers. Do your children a favor. Let the teachers teach and shut up. Wow. You're clearly no professional. Yikes. So now you're getting the parents and teachers conflicting. That's never a good thing. Look, educators have to work in conjunction with parents. Again, we're just there to support them in their academics. Outside of that, I think what we've done as a society is put too much on the teacher to where the teacher actually thinks they're the parent and they know what's best. That is not the case. I don't know what's best for your child. Maybe in terms of learning mathematics, just that I do. I'd have some good idea of it. Maybe you even have better insight than maybe I do of what's best for your child in terms of learning mathematics, and I can learn from you. But outside of that, no. You know what's best for your child. I can't be clear enough here on the Bald Brad Show. You know what's best for the child. You know the decisions that you should make. It's not me. I'm just there to teach them math. I know I'm repeating myself, you guys, but I don't want somebody to come back and be like, this guy's insane. He's saying all these things. No, I support parents. I support parents taking care of their children. I'm just there to teach math and make sure your son or daughter understands the content and can be successful in their mathematics. That's all I care about. I can't be any more clear about that. But this is what's going on. I hope you enjoyed the Bald Brad Show. A little bit of a short episode today, but we had an episode nonetheless. Hit that like and subscribe button. Grab yourself a copy of Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. All the links to everything is down below. Check out our website. We got signed copies for y'all. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show.